So we're right in the middle of the primaries, and of course one of the main things the pundits are looking at is the Trump hit rate. How many of his endorsed candidates won their races? Of course that's interesting and important, and so far the most impressive result seems to have been J.D. Vance in Ohio, who really was behind until Trump backed him. And Dr. Oz, although ludicrously, we still don't know the result there. But to me, the more interesting thing is that regardless of which candidate won which race, it seems to me that the ideas that Trump ran on, the conservative populism we've talked so much about on this show, pro-business on tax and regulation, pro-worker on trade and immigration, strong borders, strong defence, standing up to China, America first, those ideas have completely taken over the GOP. Pretty much all the candidates in all the races, regardless of which one Trump endorsed, are running on the Trump platform. The old elitist establishment Republican Party is nowhere. So in the most important battle, the battle of ideas, it looks to me as if this year's primaries have already delivered a total and complete Trump victory. What do we think, Tammy? Monica, let's start with Tammy.
Well, it makes sense. And when you think about it, we present Trump as though it was some new thing that none of us have ever heard about before. But it's a very basic dynamic that you expect from a guy. He's a decent guy. He grew, I think, to love this country, as we all have, as we've gotten to know it, certainly during the campaign. And he spoke about policies that were about helping people. And that's what this country was based on. Decisions have always been based on, up until perhaps the 20th century, on how is it we can improve the quality of people's lives, give them freedom, provide the basics that are needed, but allow people to make choices that best suit themselves. And that is what Americans have always wanted. It's not new. It's not some weird new toy. It's who we are. And what's weird is that Donald Trump would be considered the weird guy, because that just shows you how far the establishment in the swamp went, and how the American people have actually been very patient, and we're trusting. But there is a point where enough is enough. The British found out, and in World War II, everybody found out, whether it's Lusitania or Pearl Harbor. It's like, what? We want, just be, let us be. And I think that we're at a point like this now internally, and we see signs that there's an understanding of that, business signs like Netflix, other signs about what DeSantis is doing in Florida, that we're ready to move. And Trump is waiting. He remains the reminder of this. The man who's at the head of it, all things being equal, he should return for his second term. He should have a redo of the first, by the way. He had all that he got done with complete resistance. Joe Biden is ruining us, and everyone is on their knees saying, what can we help you do next, sir? So he deserves to be back, but we need him to be back, and I hope that that works out.
Well, the thing, there's no appetite evident in any of these primaries, Monica, for a return to the establishment Republican agenda.
The establishment Republican Party is dead, and I'll tell you why. Donald Trump came in and so smashed the paradigm of what voters, not just Republican voters, but independents and even a lot of Democrat voters, what they expect and want in a candidate and in American leadership. So you will never again, from the Republican base, get a John McCain, a Mitt Romney, a George Bush, a Jeb Bush. Those days are over because the expectations are so different. This is now an America First party. That is the platform. And Donald Trump, he did look at the forgotten men and women in 2015 and 2016, and he said a very powerful thing to them. He said, I see you, I hear you, and I will be your champion.
Yes.
And so everybody took a giant leap of faith because he had never done any of this before. And in the 4 years he was president, Steve, he delivered for those forgotten men and women. And so now they expect that.
Yes.
And the big fear by the left and by the GOP establishment was that Donald Trump could not be allowed to succeed, because if he did, he was going to give birth to hundreds of baby Donald Trumps, meaning hundreds of these candidates who have adopted, maybe not his style, but certainly the America First agenda, and that's exactly what's happened.
So, it all reminds me of something. Back in the UK, there was a famous kind of socialist politician called Tony Benn. No one will have heard of him in America, but he said this famous thing about Margaret Thatcher. He said, yes, she was in power for a long time, he said, but her real power was that she changed the way people think.
Yes.
And even though he was her opponent, he said, honestly, she's like easily the most powerful political leader of the kind of 20th century, and certainly the second half of it. I think very much the same with Trump, right? He's changed, regardless of his years years in office. I mean, you can't point to anyone since Reagan that's had that kind of impact on the way people think. And I always say this when I talk about Trump and use the word intellectual. He'd probably hate to be described as an intellectual, but that intellectual revolution is actually going to be a legacy regardless of his actual years in office.
Well, it is, and because it's a reminder of who we are. It's like you're coming out of a coma and somebody says, "You're great, look what you've done. This is what you've done and this is what your future is going to be. You're going to love that guy." And then it comes true. This is about a desire for transparency and honesty, for respect, my God, just for some simple respect.
Yes.
And for a desire to genuinely not tell you how to live your life, but to give you the tools that you can choose from to live the life that you want to. And that has been missing, except for Reagan. And because we can generally tell if somebody's serious about the nature of how they view us. And Trump has that seriousness. And to be serious in that way,
yes,
it comes with, I don't know if people want perfection because that doesn't exist. The reality is that the things some people don't like is exactly the kind of attitude that allows him to get things done.
Like we were saying earlier. And just very quickly, I want to quickly get you in on this because we just saw it as we were talking about with Biden, adopting basically, certainly rhetorically, the Trump attitude on China. Just yet another example.
Well, look, he came into office understanding that his base and his whole philosophy was orange man bad. Therefore, all of his policies had to be reversed, especially the ones that were really working for the American people. Look, on China, it is unbelievable how compromised Joe Biden and his son are, and so many people around him. So if you expect Joe Biden and his administration to take on China aggressively the way President Trump did, you are in for a rude awakening that is simply not going to happen. China inflicted a global pandemic on the world that killed millions of people, but they are also deeply engaged in economic warfare, geostrategic aggression, not just in the Pacific Rim, but globally. They are engaged in warfare of all kinds, and this administration will not take them on because, again, they're compromised, but also the philosophy, there is a real Marxist strain coming out of this administration. So ideologically, they are simpatico.
What they're saying now, it's empty rhetoric. It's meant to fool and gaslight.
I think that's a very important ending to this conversation because they may say it, but it's not the real thing.
That is correct.
Thank you both.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.